And welcome to the show. This is Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Larry and Spencer. Almost messed that up. We're going to be talking about The Stand, episode number 4, titled The House of the Dead. If you've not hit the sub button, hit the notification bell, please do so. We have lots and lots of content on the channel. I think at some point in the next couple weeks, we're going to be putting up as many as 5 videos a week. Leave a comment, leave a like. That helps the video. And let's start. We've been complaining a lot about the structure of the show. I want to talk specifically right now about just the overarching structure, but the structure of this episode specifically in terms of pacing. This was like it felt really slow and yet rushed all at the same time. This episode, and there were. This was probably my least favorite episode so far of the show. I've enjoyed it for the most part up until this point, but this episode, I don't know. It was specifically the pacing of this episode. There were certain things that were ordered weird. I think you could sit down and re-edit this one episode and even make it better. How did you guys feel about the pacing this week?
I don't. Hi, this is Spencer. I'm here with Brian and Larry. They, I don't. I don't have an issue so much with. I have more issues with the flashback parts because it took me a second to figure out what part of the storyline I was in, specifically with the Franny and Harold stuff, because there was parts where I was like, is this happened before or after? And then the whole pregnancy thing, like there was parts of it that confused me and it took me a second to get going. But overall, to me, this was one of the episodes that had the most emotional impact on me. And mostly because of the story with Nick and Tom. I really enjoyed their story. We were talking about it beforehand, having an issue with the way they kind of showed Tom and then did that story and then went back to Tom. Them kind of bouncing back and forth took some of the drama out of it, but it, to me, built the characters in a way that made me actually care about Nick and Tom.
Yeah, and I've got to agree with that too. It's like the only issue with the hi, I'm Larry. I'm here with Brian and Spencer. My only problem with that, absolutely, was the pacing, because everything else in the show, well, other than the order things have gone in, and we've complained about that for the last few episodes, so I won't go too much into that. The pacing is kind of the result, I think, of the skip to some degree. But even then, even the Colorado stuff seems like it's going a little fast, and you're not really getting to learn to like characters, and you're seeing them in a setting where everyone's already friendly and having powwows, and it seems like Larry showed up yesterday, and yet he's already Larry in the show, and yet he's already seems pretty close with the rest of the ruling group in this settlement. So did we do a time skip there too? Has this been after Larry's been there for a while and he's settled into his role? What's the pacing just seems off, and it seems like just like they're rushing towards an ending that they just want to get to really fast. Like there's something that the show really wants to show us, and we're not there yet, so they're just trying to rush us through everything we've seen already.
Well,
go ahead.
Thinking of like the last season of Game of Thrones, they, just like with the Nadine stuff, they show her for a second in the last episode how she's the queen or whatever, and then immediately this episode it jumps right in. Like she didn't have there was no transition, there was no nothing, there was no thought process. And that's like some of the stuff that you guys we're talking about feeling rushed. That to me felt super rushed, and then all of a sudden her and Harold are best friends within 10 seconds. I understand that she's using, but the way that they structured those characters, just it didn't feel believable, and like you guys said, it felt rushed. I don't know.
Well, we were talking last week about Larry having it's like, I guess he gave up drugs because he doesn't have the bag, and this episode it's like even the writers were like, oh yeah, we really didn't go into that, so he's pouring drugs down the drain. Like, I give up being an addict. But it's so glossed over, and it's funny because we pointed that out last week, and then this week it's like, oh, here's a scene of it. of him doing that. So yeah. And then as far as the Tom stuff, Nick and Tom are just very likable characters, and but to me, like, I would not have shown him at the meeting at the beginning. So the opening of the episode is the town meeting, and you get that one shot of Tom. And I would have probably not done that. It wasn't necessary, I don't think, because you could have built up throughout the episode more of Nick. So I would have cut it where Nick and Tom would have been the central focus, obviously next to Harold and Nadine. And the whole episode, you're trying to figure out, did he make it? Did he make it? Did he make it? And then at the end, literally the last 3 minutes, they reveal the third person, the third spy, is in fact going to be Tom because he did make it. So, to me, you could recut this episode, this singular episode, and give it more drama and make it better. And that's the kind of stuff that's been bothering me.
I don't disagree necessarily because it would have added more drama to it, but I didn't ever feel throughout the scenes with Nick and Tom that Tom was ever in danger. I felt like Nick was more in danger, but we already know full and well that he made it and he's okay. But during that whole scene, I didn't feel like a sense of danger for Tom. However, that could have been implanted in my head because I saw him 10 seconds earlier. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, and it's just like, yeah, the way that these things are cut, well, that this episode is cut, and the things they've kind of glossed over, just really makes everything feel a little off. And it's like, whoa, why aren't we exploring this character a little more? Why aren't we exploring that? And every time when I say that, we do get a flashback later in an episode, but I'd like those things a little sooner than later. How great would it have been to see Harold, just sort of unraveling as the travel happens. Like, yeah, we see at the beginning he's kind of already a cold, messed up person, but you don't get the idea that maybe he's capable of what we know he's planning right now. Having that early on and seeing why he may be a threat, because you feel uneasy watching the character. I mean, and I got to give the show that much. Like every character is very well acted out. I got to give that to the actors, and the writing. You do feel that personality come through in the writing as well. It just we needed more time.
Yeah, like we've said the whole time, it's just oddly cut. The actors do a great job. The dialogue is very well written. I don't feel like it's hokey or hammed up. They do a great job. They have a bunch of really good actors and actresses, but it's crazy that we still complain, but still are able to say that many good things about it because it still is a well scripted show. It is well, put together. It's well acted, but it's just oddly cut, and sometimes it makes it harder to follow, which we've talked about other things, and that I don't mind struggling to keep up. Raised by Wolves was hard, but it also added a lot of mystery, so I wanted to figure out the mysteries. There's no mystery in this, so it's hard for me to want to unravel it when there doesn't seem to be a payoff for me at the end.
Well, yeah, and I'll go as far as to say there are, like, I've struggled to recommend this show for that reason because while it is enjoyable to watch, I know because of the way they play with the timelines, what you see when, and how rushed everything is. I know there's a few people that I want to recommend this to that wouldn't stick with it for that reason, and I kind of want to re-edit these episodes once everything's said and done. If it's this good throughout. Just so they can watch it in a proper order, because it seems like that could be done.
Record all of them on like a computer and then just re-chop everything up.
People do that.
Yeah.
We get the Harold, and like I said, Harold and Nadine sort of sequence. I agree. Nadine, it was like, I guess they set it up at the end of last week when, she has her meeting with Randall Flagg, but it's like she's a completely different character this week. To be fair, in the old series, she definitely has a transformation as well. So yeah, that's not completely out there. But we get into the whole plot of he discovered he wants to kill Stu, he wants to kill the Five because Nadine wants him to because Randall Flagg wants it, and he discovers that they're near a ski lodge where they he used explosives to cause avalanches, and let's get some of those. And he ends up killing, or she kills his friend at the end of the episode. So now they're gonna have to figure out what to do with the body. My favorite part of all the Harold, Nadine, that whole plot this episode hinges on his friend trying to figure out if the Rock is still alive. Like, that was the best part. And I'm thinking the whole time, I'm like, please let Dwayne Johnson have a cameo, and like, please either have him in Vegas or have, it would be so great if the Rock appeared in this show.
I would like if in one of the flashbacks, if you like see him in transit to Colorado or something, if you look in the crowd, or even in after credits for the last episode.
When you look at that other cat, I don't remember his name. His last name was like Wanzak, or I don't
I don't remember.
Yeah. But my favorite part of that was the whole premature. She like sat on his lap for 3 seconds, and it
was fine, but it was so telegraphed.
But to me, that whole scene where you have that, and then they run into their friend later, there's no reason to kill him. If Harold would have just came out and been like, yeah, man, I just wanted to get her away from the crowd, you know what I mean? And it would have been over. He would have just been like, good job, man. And that would have been it. Like, there wouldn't have been any questions, like, because he wanted her. And if Harold would have got her, he would have been like, you know what, high five, man. They were friends. Like, it could have easily been explained away, but for her to do that quickly, I don't think it was a bad thing. I just thought that Harold could have easily stepped up and prevented it. But I think that it shows that now she's starting to turn that corner, but we never saw the build up to that corner that she's turning. So that's my gripe with that. Similar to, like, Khaleesi, Daenerys, or whatever. Like, you didn't see the build up, you just saw the switch. And I think that's how I felt with Nadine this episode. We saw the build up, and then we didn't see the build up. We just saw the switch hit, and we're just like, what the hell?
That's a really good comparison. And I agree with that, because it would have been great to even in fact see that maybe his death was in fact orchestrated by Randall Flagg, because that was Harold's main attachment to this town. That was his closest friend here. And and in a way, with killing him, that's killing his last shred of humanity and disconnecting him from the group. And now he has nothing left other than what he's been offered by Randall Flagg. So it would have been great to show that.
Yeah, you could have had a thing where she kind of like tilts her head like she's looking away from everybody, and then like moves her mouth and then shoots him. Because then we already know that she's talking to him and having conversations with him and stuff. So it would have been at least implied that was the reason why, which I think would have been a good way to take him out.
Yeah, because you even there's a scene where Franny's talking to Stu and talking about the Dark Man, and she has the nightmare on the bus, and she just mentions a coat hanger, and it makes you put it together in your mind, because then she's like, oh, I'm pregnant, and trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm scared. And so it was clever, because just those little lines of dialogue, you're putting together in your mind that conversation that Randall Flagg was having with her. And like, you're already, so there are moments like that where I'm like, oh, that was clever, or how they wrote that. And then there are moments where it's just like, oh shit, shoot him. And you're just like, well, you could have played this a few different ways.
Well, yeah, and and there definitely should have been a build up to where she's trying to learn about Harold a little bit, and maybe she sees Harold palling around, with him, and like, you get that scene where the cinematography tells you, they explain to you via the cinematography that she sees that he's got to go, otherwise she's not going to be able to influence Harold as easily. Just something that leads you there.
Yeah, there's no real build up to that. It just happens. As far as Harold and Nadine, we get the trucker scene. Just Harold getting his ass just whooped. We find this guy who decided, it's the apocalypse, I'm just going to round up women and do what he does with them. And he gets to Harold, and then he has this whole idea of survival of the fittest. He wants to fight him. He beats the shit out of him, and then the women are, well, one of them gets killed, but the other is able to kill him with a pipe. And then this is the introduction of Stu and Glenn to Franny and Harold, and them joining together. It's all fine. It's it's one of those scenes that's like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of there is no drama there because we know exactly where this is going pretty much. So it was fine for what it was, but it's another example of cutting this out of order, it taking a little bit away from it, I thought.
But I just have an issue with Stu not being the hero in that scene, because I feel like if Stu would have saved Franny, it would have made a lot more sense for me, for them to, you know, fall in love or whatever. Because for him to basically came in and not did anything, and I don't remember the girl's name, it's one of the spies, but she ends up killing him, taking him out, and for, you know, Harold to get punked out in front of everybody. If Stu would have been the reason that they lived, if Stu was the savior, to me that would have added more drama. It would have made more sense for Harold basically trying to redeem himself and everything, as opposed to what happened. It was just Stu was there and listened to her, and they had a similar dream or whatever. That to me, them falling in love past that doesn't make as much sense. It would have made more sense for me if it went that way, and it would have explained more of Harold's animosity towards Stu.
Well, I feel they kind of clicked a bit, you know, beforehand a little bit, you know. Well, I mean, or at least they needed more time to show that. And, you know, and that kind of just drives that home, that it's like we needed more time with the flashback to show that, oh, there was a little connection there, maybe a few more quips between Stu and Franny before they part ways, or something, you know. And I feel like it would have been even better, honestly, if because Harold's whole plan, in part, is I'm going to show her I'm a real man. She's going to fall for me. If Harold had, you know, in this version, you know, managed to, while his back was turned and everything, get the gun away or get his hands on the pipe, if he did kill the guy, and she still didn't fall for him. If that scene still happened with Stu that night, where they're talking about the dreams and Stu comforts her, you know, I think it's since, you know, it would play on his insecurities even more, and it would drive him towards Randall Flagg even more, because it's like,
I don't disagree with that. That's what I was actually anticipating was going to happen, was Harold save him and then still not get the girl. I didn't know how Stu was going to get her, but like I was 100% on board with what you just said, because he is so insecure. He is so mad. He's so hard at trying to prove himself that would have been a perfect reason for him to prove himself. But him getting beat up just now makes it, to me, unbelievable that he's doing anything, the way he cowered and everything else. So now I have an issue with not only the way it's cut, but, you know, how ballsy he's been since then. So I don't know.
Yes, and I agree, because you have to show me a transition to a Harold that can do the thing that he's planning. Because other than that, it feels toothless. You know, if we don't see on the journey the hatred of Stu just sort of you know, boiling up in him, if we don't see him gain sort of a killing edge to some degree.
Well, you didn't see the Tom Cruise picture on his mirror? That was symbolic of he can do it now. Like you're
what it was,
dude. That picture, the way it's where he's pointing at Harold every time he looks in the mirror.
I thought it was Johnny Cash. I thought it was because
the music. Yeah.
Well, I saw the black hair and the black. It looked like a black suit, so I just assumed it was Johnny Cash because he's got poses like that too. But I didn't. I must have missed when it was in focus.
It was Tom Cruise.
Oh yeah,
I think Brian's right, but oddly enough, I thought the same thing. You know, and I guess it was the music that led me there, maybe.
Yeah, they were playing a Johnny Cash song at that point. Nick and Tom's journey, we get them, they're at a store, and Nick meets this woman, and she's trying to hook up, and then she treats Tom, you know, she's an asshole to Tom, and it's an interesting little scene. It doesn't really go anywhere. Obviously, it's a setup. I would assume we're going to see her again. Wink, wink.
6 more episodes according to IMDb. So
So, there we know there's another place where people are, and people that are typically assholes. And gee, where's Tom headed? So a lot of that to me, I was like, okay,
Oh.
fine.
I
Go ahead.
it's funny because Greg Kinnear is a pivotal part in this show, but when you looked on IMDb when the second episode came out, it said 1 episode. I look on to see who that was because I was like, she looks so familiar, and it is. It's Catherine McNamara. She's in a bunch of TV shows, a bunch of the young adult stuff. Like I don't remember, like Shadow Realm, something or other, some show on like TNT or something. But anyway, I saw her, and it told me exactly how many episodes she was in from the jump. I'm like, you're hiding Greg Kinnear being a main character, but then you're just this random girl in a store shooting people with a shotgun. You're gonna spell it out.
And it's not too much. I mean, look, to me, it's very obvious that scene was very specific. We know Tom's going in as a spy, and what could happen if your cover is blown as a spy, and we have this one scene where we meet this person who's an asshole. Look, it's it's very
telegraphed.
Yes, and so it was fine for what it was. Like I said, the actors playing Nick and Tom are great. She did well for what she was supposed to do. But that was the point of that scene, clearly.
Well, yeah, I don't disagree. I'm just saying it would have IMDb spoiled because like you said, what if she is the person that rats him out or spoils it or outs him because you're like, hey, I know you. Does that mean it's the next episode? Because it says she's in 6. So that's what I'm saying is like that. How far are they going to get the next episode? Are they going to jump all the way to him being, trying to be a spy already? Are they going to jump that far?
I mean, I will say, knowing where the story goes, there's a lot of crazy shit about to happen that is not necessarily predictable. So, but
that's the thing is that they haven't built the basis for those things, and that's my issue.
Yeah. Oh, my bad.
No, go ahead, Larry. I was just gonna just be like, I don't know what to say.
Well, yeah, and I agree with you on that because the thing is, like, next episode we might just we might be in a situation where especially since we all have an idea where this story is going, especially as fast as they're moving. If we're moving at the same breakneck pace, we might watch next episode and go, "Holy shit! I can't believe they did all that. I can't believe they crammed all that into one episode."
Yeah, and they're doing. I mean, look, there are certain things they're doing that are a little different, and you're like, oh, okay. I mean, it's not an identical, to
it's
the. No, so there are certain things I'm like, oh, okay, but then. Yeah, like I've been complaining this whole time, but look, structurally, I have issues. You just have a lot of issues, and they seem to be getting worse. Luckily, we'll be in Vegas soon. We'll see how that's done. Some people have had the opportunity to see most of the episodes, except for like the last 2 or 3, and they've said that the Vegas stuff is a little over the top, to the point of it being comical. That might interest me. I don't know. I like schlocky stuff sometimes, so I don't know yet. We'll see exactly what that means, but that should be coming very, very soon.
I don't know. After this year, does any amount of evil seem comical? Or do you just go, yeah, that looks about right?
Look at did you ever watch the show version of From Dusk Till Dawn, the one that they did for a couple seasons?
Haven't seen that.
I saw the first couple episodes of the first season. Yeah.
So that's what my gripe was going to be. You talk about over the top. It was over the top, but their budget was so much less than the movie. It didn't look good. It looked shitty, and it was real hammy, and it wasn't great. But the movie was the exact same feel, the exact same premise, but it looked better. So that's if CBS spent some money on this, and even if it's over the top, half of, Paris falls, half of the Paris casino, like the Eiffel Tower falls and takes somebody out. Like, I don't care if it's over the top. I just don't want it to look like shit.
Well, yeah, and it's the sort of thing, and I know this has seemed like mostly gripes, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I gripe a lot about things I love. I am enjoying this show quite a bit. It's like, but it may seem over the top, but it probably wouldn't have seemed over the top if once again we had that lead into seeing how it got this bad, how people got this evil. If we had seen during the journey Randall Flagg's influence on people, just the way that he brings out the worst in them.
Well, we got blonde woman at the store messing with Nick and Tom. That's the reflection of what's going to be in Vegas. I guess
that's what everybody is outside of the people in the group.
That's it.
So I mean, if you can't draw that conclusion on yourself,
that was yeah.
Well, yeah. And are we left to assume that's naturally them though? And I guess we kind of are. That this is who these people are, that they weren't influenced in any way, that some of the worst people on earth just happened to survive and form another town.
Yes.
There's, I think, one of the most powerful moments in the entire episode, and I wish it had, yet again, I think the way this thing is paced messes it up a little bit, but I think one of the best scenes was Mother Abigail giving up hope. And we have a shot where, she's like, I don't think anybody's coming, and I don't think I'll make it another day. And she's just sort of like, yeah, maybe it was all bullshit. I don't know. And she's there, and then Tom and Nick find her. And there's a nice little moment where they're like, hey, Mother Abigail, and they all know each other, and yet they don't know each other. And it's a really well done scene, and you feel the acting and the way it's shot is really well done. So you do feel that emotion, but at the same time, it was frustrating to watch because I'm like, it didn't earn it to me.
Yeah.
And so that was to me, it was a great scene and yet a frustrating scene all at once.
And that's a good way to describe it because it was great and frustrating. It would have been great if, like you said, it had been earned, if you had felt if you had experienced the hardships with these characters as they journeyed, and then, you transition at some point to a downtrodden Mother Abigail who doesn't believe that anyone's actually even coming, that this is just the end for, what's good of humanity. It just would have been a better way to do it. Well acted though.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with Whoopi.
She is returning, and they confirmed it for the next season of Picard. She'll be playing Guinan.
Oh,
and so I know they had talked about doing it, but they've confirmed that it will happen.
I'm not a huge Whoopi fan or nothing. I just said, I think that she did good. I don't.
TNG for life, man.
Yeah. Well, yes. 100%.
I don't have much more except the Stephen King Easter egg. Did you catch it?
I missed it.
No.
So they go when Tom and Nick go outside. The woman's been shooting at them, and they run outside and they turn around the corner, and he sees this display of the nursing home facility. That
yes.
If you look on the left side, Stephen King is one of the people sitting. He's got a big old smile on his face, and he's sitting at the table.
I didn't see that.
So they showed. It's about 2 or 3 shots of it. So yeah, a little Easter egg.
Well, I kept trying to figure out because they kept focusing on it. I was like, what the fuck do they keep focusing on it for? I said, is that where they're at? It took me a second.
But yeah, Stephen King is in that shot. That's it, really. Anything else you guys want to say before we wrap this up?
I can't think of anything.
Well, I just want to say, I think we're all enjoying the show, except we're critiquing it as hard as we are because it could be significantly better. The show could be gold if they would just, pace it a little differently. And if maybe, and it seems like absolutely, I'm not even going to question it now whether it worked for the better. I was going to wait till the end, but I feel like it would have been better 100% in chronological order. But one of these days, I'm just going to end this by saying one of these days we're going to have to do that a retrospective on Lost or Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, because
doing Lost again. I
Yeah.
refuse to spend any more time studying that show or looking it up.
Well, yeah, because Lost is ruined for me as well. But Guardians of the Galaxy, because at least that way people can see how much I can complain about something I absolutely love.
Yes, that was great. Real quick before we go, yeah, we saw that together, and we came out of the theater, and we were in the park. We had a couple other friends there, I believe, and we were in the parking lot for like an hour.
Mhm.
Like just like standing in the parking lot, and Larry, man, he had a laundry list of issues, and yet we was like, oh, it was a great movie, but he had so many complaints. Now, I mean, there were a lot of valid points, but it was funny.
Well, yeah, because one of our friends turned to me and he was like, "You didn't like the movie?" I'm like, "No, I love the movie. It's great, but there's a lot wrong with it, and there's a lot I didn't like. I love it. I'm definitely going to watch it again. I'm probably going to buy some merch. I hated these things though, and not only that, I complained in that parking lot. I complained, I think, on the drive to go get dinner, and then I complained at dinner, and then I complained as we were all driving home. I complained about this movie for like maybe 3 hours. So
Yes, that is not an exaggeration at all. I remember that. But yeah, what do we got coming? Oh yeah, Your Honor tomorrow, and then 30 coins. Loving 30 coins. That's coming up later in the week. WandaVision starts next week, and then Big Sky will be returning as well. Lots and lots of content on the channel. Thanks for listening, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.